Hey guys, so we ended the last video on page 10. This is something kind of interesting. So Beowulf was originally recited and told before Christ, before the Bible. But yet, if you look at that, lines 170 down, you're talking about how people, we've heard, look at the line 169, for he'd been spurned by God. You had references to Cain. Those are biblical references. But how could a poem reference a God that they didn't even know existed? Okay, I mean, remember, biblical mythology was down closer to modern day Iraq, or even in or that area of the world. Okay, we're up by Scandinavia. I don't think those worlds had connected yet. So how is it possible that in a pagan text where people worshipped multiple gods, how did they have Christian influence? I'll tell you. So you remember how Beowulf was recited and memorized and told and sung because people couldn't write or couldn't read? Do you remember who I told you were the only people who could? I don't know if I did, but the only people that could were monks. Okay, and eventually the story reached their ears. Monks are, they typically live sheltered, alone, and they were the writers of Christianity. They wrote the Bible and helped distribute it. And so they heard the story of Beowulf. Eventually it reached them and they wrote it down. And that's why we're able to read Beowulf now. The thing is, though, they're Christian. So they added Christian influences into the writing. And that's how we have these references. But look again at that stanza we just read. Men came to advise, bringing pithy plots, their plans to arrest Hrothgar's awful guest. They bent themselves to idols and offered up their own spells, that a soul slayer might suddenly show up and save them. That was their nature, these heathens, hoping at the wrong heavens, remembering hell but nothing else. That is so cold. That is really a brutal stanza. It's writing that these pagans were worshiping the wrong God, and that's why Grendel was eating them, was slaughtering them, because they weren't Christian enough. And it probably wasn't directed towards the people, but probably directed towards the audience that was reading this, like, hey, remember to be a good Christian, or monsters like Grendel are going to come and eat you too. Okay, so up back at the top of page 11. They knew no true Lord, no God, no master. They too were cursed, yet thought themselves clear. Bro, let me tell you how messed up they were. In times of worst woe, throwing themselves on luck rather than on faith. Firewalkers swearing their feet uncharred while smoke stepping. Why not face the boss and at death seek salves, not scars? Firewalkers swearing at their feet uncharred. Guys, in biblical, I'm using the word mythology because it's biblical text, okay? Where is there fire with people walking in there? Hell. So the monks were referring to these pagans as people who would eventually, be sent to hell because they weren't devout Christians. Even though they existed in a time without, Christianity influence. Just the irony in that is just insane to me.